Hey, Matt Richmond, welcome back to another great episode of your podcast.
Thank you, Michael. Happy to be here as always.
Oh yeah, it's going to be another great episode. We're in the midst of this mini series, going through every chapter of your book right now. Your book, Ironclad Retirement, and everybody can get a copy of your best-selling book at ironcladretirement.com. Just go get a free copy. You want to dive in deep, read that, reach out and talk to Matt. But one thing you're going to want to talk to Matt about as you talk with him about protecting your income is not just an income shield, not just a social security shield, which are episodes 1 and 2, but this one is big time, the tax shield. Do you think, Matt, taxes are an issue in retirement?
Yeah, they're one of the biggest issues in retirement. And I
It's
think they're going to get bigger. I
yeah.
think it's going to become even a bigger issue.
Well, I think so too, and I think a lot of us early on bought into the myth that you put money away, and when you get older and you start in retirement, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket, and you're going to have so much more money because you're going to be in that lower tax bracket. And I talked to a lot of people who are in retirement, man, and that just hasn't played out, right? And taxes kind of keep going up, and there. So anyway, talk to us about what is this tax shield concept that you have.
Definitely, Michael. So tax planning should be a huge part of your retirement plan overall,
Mhm.
because you can get into situations where you're in what we call like a tax torpedo, where you don't plan for it, or your financial investment advisor just says, oh, yeah, take a distribution from here for whatever you have the money, just go ahead and take it. Well, then they didn't tell you, oh, that was from an IRA. Well, now you just shot from the 12. At the end of the year, you get the gut punched from the government saying, hey, you owe us some money, because that
Yeah.
counts as ordinary income. And then
Yes.
you shoot from the 12% tax bracket to the 22, or from the 24 to the 32,
Yeah.
et cetera. And so you really have to be very specific with tax planning in retirement, because it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
It
What?
doesn't just,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, I had to pay an extra 10% or 8% in taxes on just the income. Oh, well, guess what? Now your Social Security can be taxed at a higher percentage of it. Up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxed, depending on where you are at for income.
Yeah.
Then you've got your Medicare premiums. Medicare is your health insurance once you're 65 or older, or have a disability if you're younger. Well, if you're at a higher tax bracket because your income is higher due to improper planning, now guess what? Now you're going to pay more for your Medicare premiums. And
Yeah.
so it's not just one little faucet of retirement that you may have to pay that in. It literally is a domino effect, where you could have increased taxes for this with higher premiums for that, and again, higher premiums for that.
Yeah. Wow. And I don't, and I'm not a tax guy, right? And I'm not a financial guy. So I'm going to throw some things out that I've heard. My mother-in-law's retired, right? And she has these things called RMDs that come out of her investments that can affect her income, which could affect her tax, right? I mean, because she's always talking to people going, well, I got to do this, but I got to do that. And it's like, it's not simple, is it?
No, not at all. And so the RMD is a required minimum distribution. It's an IRS rule. It has nothing to do with where you live or anything like that. It's just something that their Internal Revenue Service set up to say, hey, once you reach a certain age, which it used to be 70 and a half, then it went to 72. Then you've got the Secure Act that came into place in 2019, that now it's at 73 and 75. And that's when you have to take out a portion or a percentage that the government decides from your qualified accounts as a
Mm.
distribution, simply so they can tax it.
I was
Uh,
going to say, so I mean, they're getting their money, and that I guess that's the rub is we put that money in tax deferred.
Correct.
Well, they want paid, and they've found a way to make sure they get their money, which is, I guess, that's okay. But there might be some ways that to shield some of those taxes, because you take that money out, like you said, that might torpedo you to a new tax bracket if you're not planning properly. Is that fair?
100%. And so we've even had instances where a client has a sizable IRA, which is an individual retirement account,
Okay.
401ks, et cetera, to where it all, and remember, retirement planning is not just one factor. It's all of it comes together to create a retirement shield.
Yeah.
And so we had a client where she had sizable IRA accounts. So her distributions for her RMDs were going to be significant. And so she was worried about having income. So we set up a private pension for her
Mm-hmm.
through one of her IRA accounts with a portion of those funds. That guaranteed her paycheck. So she had her paychecks and her playchecks already ready to go. But because it came from a qualified account, it was actually able to count towards her RMDs. So at the end of the year, she wasn't having to be like, oh, well, now I've got to take an extra $30,000 out because the government wants to tax it. It had already been accounted for through her
Mm-hmm.
private pension that we helped her create. And so
Yep.
she had already satisfied her RMD requirements. And so it's just stuff like that that can properly plan so that you don't get that tax torpedo.
That is brilliant. I love that. And I want to dive more into that, but I'll get a copy of your book and do it. And because that one strategy right there could pivot how you plan the rest of your retirement income. It could probably save you a lot of money in taxes, and it's going to give you a lot less stress in retirement because you don't have to worry about, oh, I've got to do this now. What are the ramifications? It's like it's already taken care of. We got it handled because you put together an ironclad retirement. And I love that.
Exactly.
That was a great story. I've never heard anybody kind of articulate it that way. But how do you look at, and I guess that's what you do with people who come in and talk with you is you're gonna have to see all of their picture, right? Where are you? What do you have? Why don't you unpack
Right.
that? If somebody comes and sits down with you for a first meeting, kind of what does that even look like?
Absolutely. So our first meeting is really just what we call a partnership visit. And so that's really just getting to know you, Michael, a little bit better, learning to know what do you want out of retirement? What's
Mhm,
the purpose of your retirement? What's the purpose of your money? Is it for living or is it for dying? And
mhm,
so people think, well, what do you mean? Well, is it to live off of or is it to pass a legacy? Or do you want a
mhm,
little combination of the both? So our first visit is really just getting to know you a little bit better and making sure that you're a right fit for us, and more importantly, that we're a right fit for you.
mhm.
But then, yes, of course, what we're having to do, because it would be ill-advised to say do this or do
Yeah.
that without having your total picture. So once we kind of find out what your wants and needs are in retirement, we're going to look at your whole, as you said earlier, your pie. So we're going to look at that whole retirement pie for you and be able to digest it down into, okay, well, this is allocated for that. This is allocated for this. We need to plan for that side. And then we're able to take it piece by piece and figure out a way to ensure that one, we don't hit you into a tax torpedo. Two, we don't have additional income that you don't need or don't want that you're just going to be paying taxes on, but also that you time your Social Security properly, which again, 96% of people don't do at the most optimal time. But then
Mhm.
also adding in guaranteed income for you so that you have everything set up and in place and ready to go so that you can optimize your retirement.
Wow. Okay, that's good. The first meeting is a partnership meeting, and
Right.
I bet you probably come to that with a pad of paper and a pen and a lot of questions because you've got to understand what pie is there, what ingredients have you
Right.
put into your pie, and then and I can't wait to get into this. What's the next step? Is like, okay, what's your vision? What do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want to stay home? Do you want? And all of that plays into how Matt's going to help you create an ironclad retirement because there are so many pieces and parts that have to be put in so that your retirement pie comes out tasting wonderful, right? And
Exactly.
so a tax shield is part of it. Social security shield's part of it. Income shield's a part of it. And we've got some other parts of that shield that we're going to be talking about in this mini series coming up. So hang around. Go back. I really encourage you to go back, start from the beginning, listen to every one of these, and then reach out to Matt at ironcladretirement.com. Get a free copy of his book, and then schedule that partnership meeting and talk with him about, okay, what is this retirement thing? How do we set it up best? How do we make sure we're taking Social Security at the right time? How do we make sure we're minimizing taxes? And how do we make sure I've got guaranteed income for life? Those are just three pieces of this shield that Matt's going to help you create. So man, I'm learning a lot. I'm loving the conversation. I can't wait to dive into the next episode. I think we're going to talk about long-term care and some of the aspects about that and how can you plan for that without breaking the bank. And
100%.
so, Matt, thanks again for such a great information-packed episode around retirement.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.